Hello and welcome to the Final Bell. It is great to have you with us for another week. I'm joined, as I am every single week, by Meg McDonald. Hello, Meg.
Hi, Lingy. How are you?
I'm
quite
good.
well?
I'm good. Well, I'm good. I know that there is going to be some apprehensive feelings given the Cats have dropped 3 games in a row, but we're going to spend a bit of time picking apart the game in Darwin against the Gold Coast Suns. We're going to look forward to a massive game against the Giants on Saturday at GMHBA Stadium. Obviously a record-breaking game as well. We've had the record-equaling moment. Now it's about breaking it, and then we're going to get to your questions a little bit later on. All right, let's just dive straight into it. There's no gentle way to get into this one, Meg. No. It was not a good night on Thursday night in Darwin. The Gold Coast Suns, comfortable winners by 64 points. And we did lead at quarter time, strangely, but I would say pretty complete performance by the Gold Coast Suns. And unfortunately, they dismantled us pretty well. So it wasn't a good night. I mean, certain players certainly had positive nights, but as a whole, it didn't go to plan at all.
No, it certainly didn't. It felt like we just couldn't get our hands on the ball, could we all, mate? They were able to maintain possession, and I'm sure their time in possession would be absolutely through the roof. But I'm sure we'll get to what it means and how you feel after that sort of game. But there's a certain point where I think it almost becomes like a catharsis of sorts. You're like, this is really bad, and sometimes this happens. Shake it off.
It does, and there is a need to shake it off. And I want to explore that a little bit. I will give pump-ups to the fact that some of those Suns players are now showing that potential of why they were picks 1 and 2 in drafts. And, Noah Anderson was just elite, and Matt Rowe's a quality player, and Jack Lukosius is quality. And so they have talent galore, and they're going to cause some big headaches as the season progresses. And you can see that group really getting better and better, and their efficiency in their scoring was elite, absolutely. From a Geelong perspective, I think again, and it's been pretty consistent throughout the year, Max Holmes and Graham Myers showed why they are such high-quality players, but why they're pushing that growth and development of the younger players in the Geelong list, because their standards were excellent again. I'd love to explore that coming out of a bad loss like that, and now 3 in a row, and the previous 2 losses, certainly I wouldn't put them as bad losses, given how close they were and could have been pinched and that feeling. But naturally when 3 losses accumulate, even after a terrific start to the season, those nagging little voices just start getting in your head a bit. Oh, hang on, what are we doing wrong? What have we dropped off on? Are we that good? And those little bit of negativity starts to come in there. As a playing group, if we take it inside the inner sanctum, how does a group and how do individuals begin to pull themselves out of that feeling of creeping negativity?
Yeah, I feel like, I guess what I meant with the word catharsis before is, as you've said, this loss to me as a player would feel very different to the previous 2. Yep. And when you've won, I think, 7 in a row, and you've been close on 8 and 9, there's no, I think, almost like delineation or start process, whereas I think it can almost be, and listeners might think this is an overly positive view of things, but like a cleansing. Okay, that was almost like the reverse of a line in the sand. That was a low point, and now we have to try and look at things to re-accelerate or to reset and just really loosen up with things. I don't know if that's what the team will do. I did note that in his presser, Blitz spoke about one of the fantastic things that has led to sustained success for the team is, you turn up Monday, win, lose or draw, same mindset, and the coaches are quite consistent with their messaging and their manner and their vibe around the place. I wonder if that would change after a loss like that. What do you think?
Well, Chris Scott's shown a very, very consistent path of not overreacting to a bad loss like that, or 3 losses in a row. Because it's funny, Meg, when it comes to mindset, if you ask me as a crazy Geelong supporter, if after 10 games we were 7 and 3, would you be happy?
Totally.
Take it down. Yep, thank you very much. Bank it.
But third on the ladder still.
Yep. But when it comes, the 3 losses come all in a row, you for some reason feel a hell of a lot more negative about it. And it's a natural human reaction to that. So internally, I think they would be saying, okay, we clearly aren't doing A, B, and C well, but we are still doing D, E, and F well.
Yes,
How do we get the group realigned back to doing A, B, and C better? And that's where I think Chris Scott and his coaching group have shown a real high quality consistency over many years to. It doesn't mean they can't do A, B, and C, and they're hopeless and they're no good, and we need to make catastrophic changes. It's how do we bring them back up in those areas? And they're important areas for us. They're going to get us a result. Clearly, from Thursday night's game, it was around how efficient the opposition were, how easily they moved the ball around the ground. So therefore, some of that defensive transition, but also defensive intent to take the ball off them early. How do we just readjust that back to where it needs to be and the quality that we produced earlier on in the year? And I think that calmness, there'll still be strength in his message throughout the week, internally and in the meetings and training, but I think a calm strength of, guys, this is what we look like and what we do as a group and individually when we play good football. We're just off it a bit. Let's bring it back to doing it more like this. That calmness, I think, the group appreciates.
Yeah, I agree. And then I think there's that on a team level, but then on an individual level, again, it's back to that simplicity. It's almost that same focus. I think as a player, I'll speak for myself, I feel like you can, as you're playing well and getting better, the sort of levels that you're focusing on are more and more advanced. Okay, so with the system, we're going to do this, and here's another opportunity for offense, even though I'm a defender or whatever it might be. And sometimes you have to go, oh no, hang on. My first point of call is initiate contact with my forward and press. And something really basic that goes back to the fundamentals of the game, which is ultimately what we've all got to do is get our hands on the footy and put pressure to force your opposition to turn it over.
I think that, and it's why you and I have probably enjoyed, well, I've certainly enjoyed our conversations together. Because,
me too.
because we share that belief in if you have the basic fundamentals of your individual game in place, ones you can trust that you can do, you can front up every single week and do. It's not reliant on all these other elements. If you can do those, then you are at least producing a level of quality that contributes to the team winning. So stripping I've always said the bigger the game, or when you doubt yourself most, stripping it back to those fundamentals are important. One thing, I don't know if you're the same, and I wonder if they're going to do it individually in certain cases. One thing I used to do when I was playing was if I felt like I was not in great form, just off, and I'm not positively contributing as much as I want to be to the group, that I would try and simplify it more. Yeah. But then I would also just spend 5 or 10 minutes in my week revisiting my player edits from a game earlier on in the year when I'd played what you want to call in inverted commas, played well.
Oh, mate, we're exactly the same.
And often I would, when revisiting that, and you'd be the same, it was I had a starting point a certain way where I'd be this would be my starting point and my opponent. I wasn't guessing where the ball would go. Yeah. I would be like, okay, I'm going to start on him, and then I'm going to read and back my decision making and not roll the dice and hope it comes my way. Yeah, it's a subtle difference, but it's an important difference. Am I confidently, the moment I think I can influence and I can go at the ball, am I just going? Or am I second guessing for half a second and thinking, oh, should I go? No, no man's land sort of stuff. And I could actually then see myself making really strong, positive, forthright decisions.
Instinctual,
Yeah, based on great starting point, great decisions. And from that flows a game where I really contribute well to the team.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's something a mechanism they'll try.
Yeah, they'll watch their highlights edits. No, I speak to my teammates about doing this, and you've got to know yourself, and that's what I think we're talking about is what's going to get me back in the right headspace. And it's sometimes it's that basic reminder, oh yeah, you can do this. I am good at this. When I forget those more complexities, the greater complexities, I go back to things that'll get me in the right frame of mind, and that more positive offensive side of the game I think just flows from the defense. Again, that's personal, but I think we're talking about signaling. I think you've got to be careful when things aren't going great, that, yes, you want to address them, but you don't want to have these little signals to the team that things are worse than they are. You don't want to catastrophize things by a change in a routine, or we're going to have an all-in team meeting, or all of a sudden there are 20 group texts about what we're going to do as this line or this group of players. So I think that's where you're right. The coaching and the program is so experienced at being successful over a long term, and I don't think there would be those sort of all-ins happening.
No.
It's just a reassertion of what we value most.
Yeah, and can I want to clarify and just make this clear for everyone who's listening. The little things we're both talking about are not. Now I feel bad bringing this up, but it's a glaring one. The Toby Conway kick across the goal and just give up a goal. I'm not talking about that. That's just an unfortunate skill error that every player, the greatest players to ever play the game, have made errors like that. Ends up in a goal. That's just a skill. It's more where am I starting on? So Jack Henry, Zach Guthrie, Jake Kolodjasny, looking at games earlier on in the year where their starting points are just perfect and there's enough pressure down the ground where the ball comes in and then they read it and then they either spoil or intercept and it's spot on. It's so sharp versus, I'm kind of think the ball's going there, but it's also and you're doing nothing and the opposition's able to mark the ball. That's the foundational stuff. It's an unfortunate skill error that happens in a game of football. It's more setting yourself up for success with where you're positioning yourself and the proactive decision making that you're making.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the players that, for example, there was something about O'Shea's game that I thought, you know what, solid. And that kick down the middle, he backed himself in. Did we kick a goal off that? I can't remember. But right up the guts, hit someone in the middle of a 1v3 or whatever it was. And he's a player who is, I'm sure, totally focused on those basics because of where he is in the development of his career. So I think, anyway, I think we're repeating ourselves.
Yeah.
And maybe we're doing the thing that I said we shouldn't do, which is catastrophizing by having an all-in on
No, but I think, maybe a little insight into what the players would be and the group would be trying to work with throughout the week. And the whole idea that, you just move on from this sort of loss is not true because you don't just move on. You need to learn from it. But you also don't want to overreact to it at all. And funny, you mentioned O'Shea, but throw in Max Holmes and Graham Myers games who were terrific. I even thought Shannon Neal really presented well, competed well, got some good reward as well. Toby Conway as well, I think. Leave that bit I was talking about before, but the fact that 18 contested possessions, 11 clearances, the common denominator there is pretty young guys who have, based on their developmental phase, is probably pretty basic fundamental focus each week is if I do that and that really well, then I'm contributing to the team.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they were able to produce on that by playing that way.
Yeah, they were. And one thing I'm really liking about Toby's game, let alone the sort of ruck work, and I mean, even the area that you're speaking about comes from good position defensively, takes a mark in D50, is his follow-up tackle work. I really like his intent on laying that tackle in. He's grabbing some really quick midfielders along the way to sort of force turnover. So, I think we're all really excited about it, and hopefully we get a few games in a row from Toby so that he can build week to week. That
would be fantastic. A couple of moments too to positively highlight. We obviously each week we talk about the Bendigo Banks Meet the Moment nominees. You can jump on the website or any of the club channels there. Jack Bowes, big tackle, maybe that created the goal for Tyson Sting. Was that our first goal?
Both coming from the first quarter, no.
Okay, well, that's all right. On this particular occasion, we're searching for those positives.
It did. It actually looked like Jack really set himself for that, for that first quarter, and he's playing his old side, and ultimately, I'm sure it didn't turn out the way he wanted, but he was really physical early, and I mean, the commentary highlighted how hard and how far back he came to lay that tackle, and Tyson one of his 3 goals.
What about the Ollie Henry? Was it the Ollie Henry spoil that was it Shannon Neal's goal?
Yeah, 2v1, just brought it to ground against some. They've got quality interceptors, so again a little 1%er.
Yeah, fundamental.
Great finish
stuff
too from the big guy.
Yes,
a little snap on the run.
Very, very nice.
Nicely.
We will hopefully hear from the club with their health updates, which will be on any of the club channels.
Today, usually, I think, Tuesday.
We are recording this on a Tuesday. We'll hear about Sam de Koning. We'll hear about Jeremy Cameron, his update around the concussion protocols.
Yep.
We do have confirmation, though, that one of the players managed, Tom Hawkins, will be back.
For the big record.
Yes, he will break the record against the GWS Giants. I want to take a break, Meg, because I want to look to that game. It's obviously a huge game. The Giants are a high-quality team. The Cats are a quality team, both looking to bounce back.
Yep.
And it'll be a monster game. We do have a record-breaking element to that game, but we also have some important football to be played as well. So let's take a break and then let's dive in to the Geelong versus Giants game up next. Welcome back. It is great to have you with us on to the final bell. We are talking Cats v the Giants. 4:35 Saturday twilight game at GMHBA Stadium. Meg, this is a monster clash, not just because of the fact that the Cats have dropped 3 in a row and the Giants have had a couple of losses as well.
Are they 3 in a row too?
4 out of the last 5 they've lost, as Jakey tells us. Thank you.
Thank you, producer Jake.
The Cats versus Giants games here at GMHBA Stadium.
Traumatic.
Yes. Have not gone that much to plan for the Cats, but they've been good games of football apart from the results. It's a quality clash, a quality team. The Giants actually, out of all the clubs, feel okay about this ground.
Yeah, they do, don't they?
Strangely. So it is a huge game.
I think what's going to be fun is I really like I think you really like the Giants too.
Yeah.
Like
not this week, but yes.
Not this
week,
but
I love
every other week
watching
I'm like,
them play.
love watching you play. Like all the impression I have of you as a club, and I can feel that. And then a team comes down here and kicks a few goals, and I hate that. So we'll see how that goes.
Yes, but now before we dive into the game, obviously let's get the big one out of the way. It is the record-breaking game. Tom Hawkins does become the sole record holder of the game's record at the Cats, taking over from his great mate Joel Selwood. 2 weeks ago, we had the wonderful celebration of him equaling the two wonderful friends who started together at the club in the same year. It will now be Tom Hawkins. I believe, too, you have spoken to Emma Hawkins.
I'm going to tomorrow, so I think Tom and the family wanted to obviously not emphasise the becoming the sole record breaker, so our way around that is to speak to Emma and not Tom. No, I'm really looking forward to having a chat with her. I'm lucky enough to see her on occasion at club functions or watching the men's games, and she's fantastic to talk to, and I'm really, really keen to have a chat about the impact of being the partner of someone who's spent the whole career in one place, and how that, that sort of symbiotic relationship between family and club and how they shape each other, et cetera, guys. Tune in.
That'll be a great chat. That'll be available on the website, YouTube, some of that you'll see it on the socials as well.
Provided it goes well, which I've no doubt it will.
I have no doubt it will as well. So it'll be a great celebration from the Tom Hawkins perspective, but then it becomes a big focus on the game. Now, as I mentioned in the previous segment, we're waiting on the health update. Hopeful that a Jeremy Cameron will be able to come back in. Hopeful that a Mitch Duncan will be right to go, and that little bit of experience rolling back into the team.
Hopeful about a DK as well.
Yes, big out. Obviously for the Thursday night game. What do you see this game? Where do you see this game? Obviously, two teams who are just searching to re-spark their season a little bit. The obvious one is to say midfield is where the game is won and lost. But it's got to be more than that in this game. It's right across the ground, doesn't it? Yeah,
certainly. I noted Blitz yesterday spoke about those 3 wins that they've had down here. It's obviously their ball movement's been a hallmark of it, as it has for their better games this season, their sort of slingshot and how quickly they can move from D50 to forward 50. And I think by comparison, obviously, we're pretty good at stopping that, particularly down here. So how can we lock the ball in our forward half? Obviously, we've got celebrated small forwards that are in the team for that purpose. So I hope it's going to be a big week for those ones, the sort of likes of who have we got? Stengel, Close, Gryan.
Ollie Henry can do it too.
A little bit of pace to keep the ball locked in is going to be crucial.
And that's the big one, isn't it? Because and I'm with you. I'm glad you brought that point up. The Giants' ability to move the ball fast, and at this ground over the last 3 times I've played here has been really impressive, because teams can get stuck here, being that little bit more narrow ground, whereas the Giants have managed to move the ball pretty quick. Geelong, to go back to the last week or two, haven't defended the entire ground as well as they would want to. Obviously, I reckon that will be one of those adjustments that Chris Scott will be searching for. The ability to slow up those more dynamic ball users and runners of the Giants and make it feel like this ground is clogged and there is nowhere to go. And if they look and hesitate for even half a second, that option's just gone.
Yeah, that's a structural thing, isn't it? It's holding your defence, but it's also when a team's running at you that quickly. I guess I've spoken about the small forwards. That's a matter of chasing. But it's also going to be crucial that we press. Like, a team's coming quickly at you, you need to go quite quickly back at them. I think when we're at our best, we have that balance really well. When we're not, you see that sort of folding back and leapfrogging that Port sort of got us on. And so I think it's that press decision is going to be crucial.
Because, and you know this better than I do, being a key defender, you can get your starting point spot on. You can make that body contact initially, but you are still so reliant on some form of pressure on that kicker so that they have to kick half a second, a fraction of a second earlier than they want to, and then their options to kick are narrowed down to hopefully only one, but maybe two, as opposed to they've got all the time in the world and my opponent as the forward can make 4 different moves on me.
And that's the difference between then you're kicking to a bunch of 1v1s, or you can get across to help your mate, because there is that bit of pressure and that kick's a little bit more skied. So I'll back the boys in on that one.
That'll be a great challenge, and I'm sure something we'll see throughout the Saturday's game. Just a little note for those who are coming along, and hopefully we get a massive crowd coming along. Be in your seats by 4 o'clock.
Yes, we've got a Sir Doug Nicholls round ceremony, and we're doing the light show again. I think we're expecting some gloomy skies. So is the Crowd Canvas app? Get on that. Did you note the flashing in the arena last time?
Port Adelaide game? Yes, I did. Yeah.
Yep. So we're doing that again. Different to just having your torch on, I think. I think it sort of syncs up for you. Is that right, Jake? Yeah, that's it. And I believe we might be wearing the alternate, the white Layers of the Land Sir Doug Nicholls round Guernsey strip. So looking forward to seeing that, because we looked pretty good. Yeah,
it looks sensational. And as we say, they available in the catch up. I know my kids want to get a hold of one of those jumpers, so they're at me all game. Come on, Dad, can we go to the catch up, please?
Can we go to the Mood East?
And lots of options as far as if you want to come along, please do so. Purchase a 3-game reserve seat membership.
Yes, that's the one at the moment.
Yes, rounds 11, 12 and 17 is the other time we're back at GMHBA Stadium.
And on that, I think a big thing to be aware of is a lot of people have been wanting to get into Club Chin Chin, and it's important that we're clear that if you do have a reserve seat or you've got another ticket to the game, there is a dine-only option, so you can go and have your meal for $160 per person, I think. Delicious meal.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be the package.
It doesn't have to be the package where you buy the whole thing.
You've already got your reserve seat. You can go and have a delicious meal at Chin Chin and then still go to your seat. Oh,
so you'll be taking the family on the weekend, won't you?
Very, very nice.
I'm trying to get us on. I think we've got some people trying to get a little live podcast from Chin Chin.
Ooh, okay, I like the sound of that.
If we say it on air, it's got to happen now.
I like it. Hey, while we're pumping things up too, really quickly, the Cats Hoops raffle, Meg.
Yes.
$10 a ticket. You could be in to win a share of over $50,000 worth of prizes. The first prize, I just saw it as I was walking in, not the actual one, sorry. It was it
says brand new, but you saw it.
No, it was a big advertising, those electronic advertising things out the front of the
Brownlow LED setup.
That's the one. Yep. A 2023 Ford Puma, which is be magnificent to get a hold of. The funds that are raised will go towards the Cats community programs. Head to raffle.geelongcats.com.au to check out all the prizes and enter in for your chance to win that.
Did you know, I don't know if the 2023 Ford Puma does this. I'm assuming it does. Do you know that when you unlock a Ford Puma and there's a little light under the mirrors that projects a Puma onto the ground?
Is that right?
When I used to drive one, it would give my family no end of joy. But that's what happened.
Okay. I didn't know that.
So, that's just one more thing to get excited about for $10 a ticket.
Beautiful. Got to do that.
Got to do that.
Thank you for teaching me that one. The VFL, I want to throw one name at you, Meg. Sean Manor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was like, which one? Because there are a few that are racking them up.
I could throw Mitch Hardy at you if I wanted to, Clark, all these different options. But Sean Manor, 3 goals, form, experience.
How many goals last week? Heaps. 3?
3 as well.
3 says Jake's.
Producer Jakey's onto it. I know it'll be a lot because there might be a couple of big fellas. Well, we know Tom Hawkins is coming back in. Maybe there's a Jeremy Cameron. Maybe there's a Mitch Stone.
But also the little fellas are going pretty well.
All of that, they are. They're flying. I'm just throwing it up for discussion's sake. We're at match committee now. I'm just putting his name forward.
All right, he's in.
It is a good thing about the podcast. We don't actually have to drop anyone. You can just bring players in.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we've said that all last couple of years, right? I mean, he's, as we always say, he's doing what needs to be done, which is going and performing at that level, keeping your own level high and getting ready for the opportunity that he will play again sooner rather than later, I'm sure. So another 3 goals in the AFL will be great.
Yeah, would be very nice.
Keep that consistency.
Maybe just a little spark from him. But 22-point win for the Cats in the VFL over Coburg, which was terrific. The next match is GWS. This Saturday, 12:05 p.m. The double header. I love the fact we got a curtain raiser.
That's right. Yeah. So it might be tricky to play both. Like Jai Clark played in both this weekend just gone. So
that's pretty impressive, isn't it?
I know people do that. There was that. Yep. Who was it? A Sydney guy?
Or the the Brisbane guy. Yeah, had his little feed of bit of Macca's, and then he's going all right too.
Be here.
Yes, be here. Watch the
Maybe
double
you could
header.
do that. Maybe you could watch the game. Little chin. Watch the men. I keep saying men's. They're both men's games.
Be in your seat by 4 p.m. as the lights show. Sir Doug Nicholls round celebration. All these things. So lots going on. The VFLW, unfortunately, Meg, just going down to Casey.
Positive game is the word, but just a little tough loss in the end. I think we had a good response in the second half.
Next match for them against Williamstown Eagles is Sunday. Sunday, 12 p.m. DSV Stadium. I'm assuming is that Williamstown's ground?
It's Willie, yeah.
Okay. Yep. Let's hope it's not windy.
Well,
my memories of playing at Williamstown's ground when I was back.
I've played there once. Yeah.
It gets
not great.
Beautiful little breeze off the bay there. Yeah. Stunning. Stunning in the middle of winter.
It's a classic question. Would you rather rain or wind?
Give me rain.
Yeah, I agree.
You can judge what the ball's doing.
Yep.
Wind can drive you crazy, unfortunately. But it doesn't matter. Even if it is windy, go along and cheer on the VFLW team at Williamstown's ground, 12 p.m. on Sunday. So lots of footy to look forward to. Speaking of looking forward to, I'm looking forward to some questions. I think we've got a few there, Meg. Let's have a break and get to those next. Welcome back to the Final Bell. It is great to have you with us. Time to get to your questions, though. We love getting questions off all our listeners,
Meg. Even on a week like this.
Yes.
Send them in.
Well, as the team likes to do, as you said, win, lose or draw, you front up to training, you front up to recovery, you front up to meetings, to learn, to improve yourself. We got to front up to some questions, and we are more than happy to do that. This first question... What can the Cats do to turn around what can the Cats do to turn these losses around and get back to contending like 2022? Hopefully, we've answered a lot of that throughout the podcast. It is funny. My crazy mind, Meg. I still remember 2022. I took along, and maybe it was the torture of taking 6 kids under the age of 11 to Marvel Stadium to watch Geelong and St Kilda. Yep. I had 3 of mine, and I took 3 others. One of them was a St Kilda supporter. He was a good friend of my eldest boy, and it was a torturous day. Geelong played terrible footy, and St Kilda just ripped them apart through the middle of the ground. I remember leaving that ground thinking, I'm never taking 6 kids to the footy again in my life. Certainly not to Melbourne.
No
and, I rated Geelong pretty highly. I'm not sure they can win it now. Now, that was, round 10, I think, at a guess, roughly this time of the year, 2022. They never lost again.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm just reminding myself not to overreact to little patches of the season where I walked out of Marvel Stadium that day thinking, oh, geez, the Cats are in some trouble.
Yeah, you take a broader look at the comp too and compare it year on year to this stage, and it's perhaps last year was the exception but the ultimate premiers are rarely a finished product now, and it was only 3 weeks ago we're like, well, maybe a loss will come, or maybe we'll just keep winning forever. So I think the idea of getting back to contending, I would contest that sentiment, because I think this is part of it, the ebbs and flows, and to be, as we said, still in the top 4 because of the evenness of the competition and some further surprise losses over the weekend, but being really clear on how we can get better is where you want to be. You don't want to feel like you're maxed. You don't want to feel like you're unbeatable right now, because being able to maintain that's unlikely. Yep.
Exactly right. Well said. And hopefully a lot of answering that question too we have done earlier on in the podcast. But thank you for the question. This is a good one. I love this one, Meg. Who will the next debutant be? First of all, we've had 2 debutants, I think I'm right in saying, Connor O'Sullivan and Sean Manor so far this season, which is wonderful. A couple of players who played only, a small handful of games in previous seasons, like Shannon Neal and Toby Conway have had a bit of footy this year as well. But the remainder of this question is, will we see Lawson Humphreys in the AFL this year? I get the feeling the answer to that is yes. It might not be this week, but I feel like it's a definite yes.
Yeah, it sounds like the asker has been keeping their eye on the VFL, because all reports are he is flying, and what did he have, 23-ish last week off half back, and apparently his ball use is just, not apparently, I've seen his ball use is elite. And speaking to some of the coaching staff, I think they couldn't be happy with how he's applying himself in the face of not quite getting the call up, because as discussed, our backline's strong and settled. But
yeah, I love that. And you were saying how there needs to be an element of disappointment and almost a little bit of burning resentment when you are not selected, when you're playing good footy. But then the attitude quickly flips to, okay, well, how can I get better? How can I show them more? How can I continue to work on my game? Anyone who says if you're not selected, you should be, that's fine, all good, life's good. What a load of rubbish.
Yeah.
There should be anger, but you have to then channel that in the right way to remain super positive and super driven to improve yourself.
Yeah, because I think, and I try to say this to my teammates, getting your name called out on a Thursday and getting selected is not the ultimate goal. Yes, of course, making a debut is a huge milestone in your career, but the ultimate goal is to have a long, successful career and to contribute on the weekend. So it's not on Thursday I finally get selected, all good. It's
job done.
Yeah, the job's on the weekend, and then for the rest of your career to contribute strongly at the top level. So I'm sure they've kept that in mind.
Forgive me too if I've already mentioned this, and I might have already on a previous podcast. I'm fortunate enough that Shannon Burns and Nigel Lappin and that have invited me along a couple of times to speak to the academy guys and sit in on meetings, and first impressions and second impressions and third impressions of Lawson Humphreys just as a person and the questions he's asking and the observations he's making within team meetings, combined with what we're seeing on the field, has got me thinking very good things about that young man. So for that question there, might not be this week again, but I think they are very, very keen to play Lawson Humphreys given how well he's playing at the moment. So yes is hopefully the answer there. Does connecting as a team beyond the football field help with your game day play? I would say yes, but you don't have to connect amazingly, be greatest of friends with every single player that you have on your list. That's just not reality. But that connection and understanding of what you're all there to do and achieve, and there's different personalities within the group, and understanding all of that, I think, is vital.
Yeah, and I think we've spoken a bit before about how it helps you in the feedback process and between games. Does it help on the field? Yes, possibly less, evidently, but I also think, who you are in the field can be an extension of who you are off it. Some people have the white line, totally different, but I do think some of that translates, and so I think the better you know anyone, the better you work together as a general rule in life.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think at times where there is a little lull in form, or a couple of losses mount like they're facing at the moment right now, is when there's that connection there, you can bring yourselves out of that together.
Yeah.
It doesn't need one person to be the myth of the 1960s type. I'm going to give a big grand speech and then everything's going to be good. It's just not. That's not reality anymore. It's okay. How are we going to fix this up together? What do we need to work on? Some of the things we spoke about earlier on in the podcast. And when that connection's there, you can better work through those things and not think. You say something to me, Meg, that is a little confronting, maybe challenging. I don't think, oh, what, you're just having a go at me. What's your problem?
Yeah.
And
no,
then
you know, because you
conflict.
care for each other. And
Hey, let's sort this out together and let's help us get on this journey back to playing the footy that we want to play as a group. Thank you for that question. I don't have any names, by the way, on these questions. I apologise for that. I haven't got them on my notes.
If you know, you know.
Yes.
You know.
And this is the final one, but hopefully we have answered it throughout the podcast. How do you think the team will go this Saturday? I think Meg and I are in agreement that we will see a team totally committed to fixing up a couple of little areas, but then also continuing to play on the strengths that they've shown right throughout the first 10 games of the season.
Oh, I couldn't have said it better. I think, we're due for a good one and everyone's... I don't know. Which I think is a symptom of being part of this organisation, is that you're quite a positive outlook on things, and I think that's the way the footy department operates. So I'm all in on not letting them get 4 in a row at the Cattery, which I don't know if has ever been done before. But it's a really I think it'll really shape the competition the way we go against GWS this week, because both teams are going to be there at the end.
Yeah, what better opportunity too? The challenge coming home to hopefully a packed GMHBA stadium.
2 weeks in a row.
A record-breaking game. Yes, the Richmond game the following Saturday night. That'll be fantastic as well. A record-breaking day with Tom Hawkins, the game's record holder at the Cats, and an opportunity to respond and play some great footy. So hopefully we're back on this podcast next week.
Right.
We'll definitely be back, but hopefully we're back celebrating a terrific Cats win.
Yeah, I feel like, and also just on that, I mean, really don't underestimate how important, how influential the crowd can be, in the crowd's role in that positivity and belief, and not just sort of baby out with the bathwater stuff. Get into it.
Yeah.
Boys will be up for it. You guys be up for it.
Absolutely.
I'm clearly up for it.
I love this pep talk from Meg McDonald. Is this what you give the team when you're doing your big
I think I'm a
speech?
bit more refined than that. That was just a bit of. It's been noted that my fan comes out on this podcast, so
good.
I'm less fan in the work role.
We love the fan part too, Meg. Thank you so much for being on again today. We will be back next week, as I said, talking about all things Cats and Giants, and looking forward to that huge game against Richmond as well on the Saturday night. 2 games at GMHBA Stadium. Hopefully 2 wins for the Cats. Enjoy the game. Enjoy Chin Chin if you can get yourself a booking.
I will.
You know people around here.
I know people.
All right.
I've been before.
You'll see Meg and Chin Chin at the game, hopefully.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week. Thanks for joining us.